Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Know Your Gear QA podcast, live QA. I think I said that twice. Number 144. I'm pretty sure last week was 143. Sometimes I think I should probably go double check. So fast week this week, crazy week this week for me. I hope you guys had a great week. Announcements. I have a few. Hold on a second. First, I'd like to point out, thank you again for everybody who's joined me on the Reachable app program. It's been working out pretty good. If you guys will see the link down below, what basically it does is you can use that phone number to text me a message. If you want to text me a question or message, you can do that for absolutely free one time. So it's just, if you ever want to get a hold of me and send me a message, I'm pretty fast on them. Usually within 24 to 48 hours, I'll respond. After that, you have to sign up. I think it's like $5 for the month or something like that. But that's up to you if you want to do that later. It's just great because, like I said, it's a fast way to get a message to me because it comes through an app that it's easy for me to use. I'm utilizing the time when I can't do anything else to just go through and work the app. So please be aware of that. If you're international, you can still use it. You just have to download the app. You just can't use the phone number thing, but it's very self-explanatory, very easy. So I'll let you know. You can try it for free. Just thought I'd let you tell you because it's been working great. Thank you, everybody who's been joining me on that program. The other thing I want to let you know is that I put a discount code for today's episode. It will be for this weekend for 15% off the merch store because we haven't done that in a while. I thought that'd be a little fun to do. And then last, I want to remind you that Mojo Tone Amps is doing another amp build class on the 28th and 29th here at Roberto-Venn School of Luthiery in Phoenix, Arizona. I know some of you guys have reached out and let me know you're having trouble signing up for the class. They're a little slow, it seems like, to get information there. Please just go to their website if you have any concerns, or like if you've done in the past, message me. I have no problem passing on the messages. They're working hard to get everybody signed up for the class. I'm not sure how many slots are left. There was 15 to start with. So hopefully they're filling up. If not, jump on that. It's $1,000. It comes with a $750 amp and a full 2-day class. And I think pizza. They feed you pizza during lunch. I will not be at this class, but I will be doing a meetup that Saturday at it's a bar restaurant down the street, literally down the street. I mean, you could walk there from Roberto-Venn. It's just a quick little jaunt. And I'll be doing the meetup. I'll be setting the time. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 7 o'clock that Saturday p.m. I'm sure the time is set. It's just the location. I'm 99% sure which place it is. What I want to do is, as we get closer, I'd like to actually reserve a table there for whoever's going to show up, whether it's just, one person and me or 10 people. So, and that's open to anybody that wants to do that meetup. So I'll make that announcement here on the show. But obviously anybody who does the class, I want to make sure that they're going to join and be there if that's something they want to do. All right. That was the announcement section. I think we're done. Okay. Let's, you guys already have questions and comments and stuff. Let's look at the first comment that posted today was Frank Rizzo from the Jerky Boys says, hey, Phil, by the way, thank you. 2 things. Thanks. Frank Rizzo reminded me of 2 things. First, if you're watching this episode and you want to see later on the rebroadcast, the replay, all of the questions, comments are indexed below. I index them after the show so you can go right to them. The other thing is that if you want to ask a question during the live shows, please start it with a question mark. That way I know it's not a comment, it's a question. And thank you, Frank Rizzo did that. Phil, how can I fix a stripped tremolo backplate? Is there an easy fix? Thank you. Tremolo back plate. I'm confused by this question. A stripped tremolo back plate. When I think of a tremolo black back plate, I'm thinking of the plastic plate that's covering up the tremolo and behind the, and so that's where I'm confused about the stripped part. You mean the screws are stripped? That's a tricky question. Try to fixate that, or kind of give me more detail, Frank. I'm not sure I'm thinking what else you would call a backplate on the tremolo. What else would be the tremolo? Because I'm thinking, I'm running through all the tremolos in my head. I'm picturing them all. A backplate. I don't know why I'm not picturing it. To me, it's stripped backplate sounds like stripped screws out. So we'll try and get to that. Okay, so John says, it's the screws that go into the wood. There's a few things you can do. Okay, yeah. So John Doe is thinking the same thing as me. It's the screws going into the wood. Yes, there's a ton of things to do. It's hard to explain verbally without any kind of illustration. Sometimes you're lucky and I can just get some grips, vice grips on them and work them out that way. I have a tap it, if you know what that is. I can sometimes tap into them and then kind of back them out that way. There's a ton of ways to do that. But that's something I really want to see it before I start telling you what to do with it, because it could be super easy. It's probably not going to be hard, but it could be something super easy versus something that we can make kind of hard. Let's see. Frank. Oh, another question from Frank Brizzo, but I just caught it. So it says, "Hey, Phil, what's up with Peavey? ? I noticed no YouTuber and smaller booth. Guitar and bass wise, nothing new. What's your opinion?" I know Peavey's there. So, I'm just waiting for Peavey to announce it. And this is going to sound horrible. I'm just waiting for them to announce that they close. They go out of business. That's how I feel. I saw what Peavey offered at the Summer NAMM, because the Summer NAMM is such a small event that when you walk by, you get to see everything. They had some stuff out, a few items here and there. Obviously, I think we've definitely talked about this many episodes, that I am a fan of Peavey, that I am definitely a fan of the Classic Series amps. I've always liked them, the 5150 amps, the 321, right? Is that what it is? 32? Yeah, 321 amp. If I'm saying it wrong, I always remember that number for some reason. But there's a lot of amps I like. I like the mini heads. I like the mini Classic 20. There's a lot of stuff I like about Peavey, but Peavey to me is a brand that just doesn't understand the new market, the new consumer. And I find it sad, because it's a brand that's it's important to me because it has a history with me. My first really cool amp, which is sad, was a Peavey Rage. I'm saying it's sad because that was a $99 amp, but when I got my Peavey Rage, that was my first amp with distortion on it, and it sounded, to me, it was just amazing. And I remember like playing that amp thinking, it's never going to get any better than this. This is the best amp ever. You know what I mean? I think at that time I'd been playing guitar for about 10 months to almost a year. And I was like, because I remember about 1 year, I think we decided that if I stuck with it, I could upgrade an amplifier. And so we got a Peavey Rage for $100. Anyways, so I've always been, and Dirt Racer X says, I still rock a 6505 Plus. Again, I'm a big fan of the product. There's no question about my love for Peavey product. I love their product. I have behind me right now, over in that rack that you can't see, is a 98 Peavey Wolfgang, right? It's one of the best guitars probably ever made. So that all being said, I just don't know what Peavey does now. I don't know. They don't tend to come out with a lot of new products. They do a lot of what I call false starts. What I mean is I see a product that's coming out, it never comes out, or it never, it takes forever. So I would imagine that's why you're not seeing a whole lot from them. I know they were at the Winter NAMM show, because I had to walk by that section of it to get over to where Hughes and Kettner and IK Multimedia and Hosa and Tascam was, because I was going to visit those booths. And I was going to stop at the Peavey booth, but to be honest with you, I didn't stop, because as I was walking, I'm like, hey man, when you've been walking for 4 days, 100 feet is like, I don't know, you got to want to walk that 100 feet. So, cause your feet, and I'm dumb. I don't know if I told anybody this. I left for California, and I wear Vans wherever I go, except for, obviously big events like that. You wear tennis shoes, regular shoes. I left my shoes. And I should have stopped somewhere and bought shoes, but I was afraid of that whole, you shouldn't wear brand new shoes. So I was wearing my Vans the entire event. That's a brutal thing, man. Vans are not very comfortable for a lot of walking. So that's my long way of saying I didn't go to their booth because I didn't think they had anything. I hope I was wrong. You know what I mean? I hope to find out there was something great there, but I haven't seen anything. So that's my take on Peavey. I hope one day I can totally eat crow in this comment, this whole section I just talked about. I'd love to see Peavey just come back stronger than ever. I think they have great product. I think I have all the elements to do so, but just poor execution, in my opinion. So there you go. And okay. Mickey SZ. I know there's some super chats. I promise to get to them. I'm just trying to get some questions real quick. Mickey SZ says, "Hey Phil, what's the story on the Washburn custom shop? Just bought a 2008, and I'm really impressed by the all-around sound and quality of the price." I again, another great guitars. I don't think my Washburn custom shop's not in here. It's in the other room. I think Washburn made some of the best guitars, especially out of that custom shop. Out there on the market. Some of them were killer. You can score smoking deals on American-made Washburns now. If you're out there looking, I'm actually thinking right now, I'm picturing, I have friends right now I can hear in my head saying, "No, Phil, don't tell them," because they like to buy them up because they can pick up really sweet custom American-made Washburn guitars for $500. You know what I mean? They're out there. Great stuff. As far as my understanding now, there is no current Washburn custom shop. It was shut down. It was shut down when Parker was dissolved as a brand. And I know that they're currently making the Nuno guitars and the Michael Sweet guitars, but is my understanding is that is built by a builder that I think builds some of the American-made BC Rich stuff. I think that's the same. I could be totally wrong on that. Please don't take that to heart. Somebody, or take that as fact. Again, I'm just going off something somebody was talking about. I remember hearing, but not really paying attention to it. So maybe this is one of those moments where maybe I should have paid more attention to what they were saying. But I got the gist of it. That obviously to make 2 or 3 different models, maybe 4 different models of Washburns, they're just having a what we would call a ghost builder build it, which is not a bad thing at all. Just they're having somebody in the U.S. who builds bodies and guitars and necks and build the guitars. So and then they buy them from them. So that's how it kind of works. It's just no different than going to China and having a Chinese factory building the guitars and then buying the guitars from them and selling them to your dealers. They're doing the same thing. For that many limited models, they just don't need a full shop. They don't need to operate that. It's an expensive cost for sure. So that is my, so the part I'm sure of is there is no Washburn custom shop. I'm very sure of the fact that they are having somebody else do the instruments for them now. I just, like I said, my guesswork was that it's somehow connected to someone who's also doing work for BC Rich. Could be totally wrong on that part, is what I'm saying. I'm not sure. I just know they do other things besides the Washburn guitars. I just couldn't remember what. So there you go. And again, coast building, very, very popular in the 80s. And I hope it becomes popular again. I think it's a great way to keep companies like Washburn, keep an American line of guitars in there. So I have some super chats stacking up. I'm going to kind of go through them real quick since they were kind enough to kind of do the super chat. Mark says, "Can you age an Arctic white polyurethane guitar using a tanning bed?" That's a great question. Looking for Randy Rhoads Gibson LP tent. Les Paul tent, would it damage the fretboard? Okay, so here's the gist of it. UV light. There's a couple of things that you understand. I just want to be clear. Water will eventually cut through a rock, right? It's just a fact. Eventually, UV light will destroy something. It will fade it. It will wear it out. It'll make it crack. It'll make it crumble. So to answer your question, will a tanning bed will it age a polyurethane guitar? Yes, in the idea that eventually UV light breaks down anything over time. My guess, though, is that whatever desired effect you're going for, you're not going to come across it because, first of all, polyurethane is very resilient. It's not like lacquer, nitrocellulose lacquer. It's going to be a lot harder finish. And a lot of them are even UV cured, which makes it even tougher. So what I'm saying is it would take you a long time to see the damage from a tanning bed, fade the finish out, because eventually, like I said, sunlight will fade anything, but it'll fade it out. It'll take a long time, and it probably won't look the way you hope it will. So I guess that was my very long way of saying no, it's not going to work. But I didn't want to say no because I'm sure somebody out there would go, no, technically it would. It would, but not in the way you're hoping. There's a reason why when they do a lot of relic instruments, they still stick with nitrocellulose lacquer. Not to mention polyurethane does not age very well, in my opinion. It doesn't have a great aged look. That's what's great about poly. It looks great. It looks new forever. Well, for a long time. And it looks great. But it also doesn't age, doesn't take the aging well. So I would say no, don't try it if you want my opinion. And the only exception to that is if you find someone who's done it and successful at it, then maybe follow their lead and get their notes on it. I have a friend who works and he paints guitars and ages them and does all this stuff. He's a custom painter to instruments. And as far as I know, he's never aged any polyurethane instruments. I'm still thinking everything he does when he ages it, he'll stick to a different finish. But, there you go. Max Shade 7 says, hey, Phil, thoughts on the Seymour Duncan Everything Axe Strat pickups for the Fender USA Strat Deluxe? I have not tried them. Obviously, I'm curious about them. Especially single coil pickups. I find that single coil pickups are a pickup that if you come out with a new one, I'm immediately going to pay attention to that because I'm always looking for that perfect single coil Strat tone. I always feel like a humbucker. I'm always looking for a good sound from a humbucker, but I feel like I have about half a dozen great humbuckers where I'm like, I love these pickups. But single coils, even when I find ones I love, I sometimes will fall out of love with them. There's something about single coils that I'm addicted to them because I love playing through them, but I'm addicted to the perfect single coil sound. So I'm curious about them, Max, but I unfortunately haven't tried them. But my thoughts on them, I'm interested. Maybe I'll get my hands on them for the pickup test videos. Silver pair of ducks. I'm probably saying this wrong. Some kind of phonetic thing like silver paradox or something. But anyway, Silver Pair of Ducks says, can you do an install review of the Flatson's Resonance pickup on Amazon? I rolled the dice and I loved it. What I will do is, so I will index the Flatson's thing and I'll look it up. Maybe I'll do it. I just bought, I would say every, but that's, so exaggerated, stupid. I just bought a crap ton of Luthiery tools off of Amazon. They're down in the shop right now. The video is, I started working it. First I have to go through them all. So I'm gonna, that was a request from a patron. The patron said, would I go through all the Amazon tools? So what I did is I picked out all of my favorite StewMac tools that I've had forever. And again, this is my problem. A lot of times when I'm really disconnected to the comments, when people talk about the expense of the StewMac tools, when they're like, man, Phil, these things are really overpriced or expensive. I'm disconnected because I haven't needed to buy any tools really in a while. You know what I mean? I buy things that I have to maintain, but I've had my core amount of my tools for a decade or two, just going for my last round of tools. So I understand it's, it's expensive, but I feel like I've done it over a period of time, so it didn't feel so bad. So that being said, I'm doing the Amazon tools. I'd be interested in doing Amazon pickups. I'll check out the Flatson's Resonance pickup. However, so I really plan to hammer a lot of these inexpensive pickups in these pickup videos that I'm working on. I really want to show, hey, how do they sound? I'm really curious. I'm always curious about cheap pickups. I think I've said this before. Cheap pickups, we're talking about price now. Cheap pickups, to me, are a funny thing because everybody always thinks they sound bad. To me, they sound different. There's things I like about cheap pickups, believe it or not. There's certain things. So it's not always negative. Sometimes everybody's like, oh, cheap pickups sound muddy. I'm like, I don't know about that. But sometimes they do have a low frequency quality that I like in the cheaper made pickups. The irony, like a lot of things that we love in gear, a lot of the stuff that we covet now was made at one time just to be cheap. So let's see. Greg K says, great to be here alive. Thanks always for the show. Thank you, Greg, for popping in. Today, you guys might notice I've changed a few things. The office is totally redone. It killed me. I'm sitting here. I seem like in a good mood. I am wiped out. My wife and I redid the office, new paint, new everything, new everything. So again, to expedite how I record videos, since I recorded them all in here pretty much now. I used to not. I used to bounce back and forth, but now I do them all in here, and I wanted to change it up. So I've changed it up a lot. It's massively different, that's for sure. So let's do, I know I got a lot of super chats, but again, let me hop over to some non-super chats, see what you guys are saying. There's almost 700 of us hanging out. And again, if you have a question, or I'm looking for comments too, but yeah, if it's a comment even that you want me to read, just put the question mark in front of it. Again, I'm looking for the question mark first just to see that it's something, because I know a lot of you guys every week like to talk to each other, and I enjoy that. Joe says, hey, Phil, do you still use the JJ Junior? Right? The double J, I should say. Somebody corrected me, like, Phil, it's not the JJ Junior, it's the double J. I'm like, okay, it says JJ Junior on it, but I understand what you meant. Now that I have the Dirty Shirley Mini. Yes, actually, Joe, what's happened is, I'm looking at my amps right now. What's happened is I've definitely decided that those two amps speak to me for some reason. The Dirty Shirley Mini is like this amp that I just love to play, in the idea that it's like, man, I don't know. Everything about it speaks to me in a way, like I said, in a creative way. I want to create music when I play it. I want to practice more when I plug into it. I want to experiment more with stuff. I like using the overdrive on the Dirty Shirley, but messing with all the different ways I can run pedals through it to give different tones. And then, of course, I write some stuff and record some stuff and play around stuff. The JJ Junior is different experience. That amp is in the other room now. In fact, what happened is I've moved all the amps into the office except for one amp. And the one amp, well, I shouldn't say that, but you get the idea. The majority of the amps. One amp now in my bedroom is the JJ Junior. That's the amp I'm keeping in the bedroom. That and a small pedal board. That's enough for me to have every sound I want, the clean I need, the overdrive I need. So the JJ Junior to me is like the, like, I really feel like this, if you ask me what my favorite amp was, I'd say just in the world right now, it'd probably be the Dirty Shirley. And again, I'm always a Princeton fan, but the Dirty Shirley is definitely my favorite amp now. If you ask me which one should you get of the two, I would probably tell most people probably get the JJ Junior, just because I think it does more than the Dirty Shirley does. But I don't know. I almost feel like I want to do a shootout between those two amps. They're literally so different that I just don't know, you know what I mean? Why, but I'm super happy with them too. I still have my PT20, although I like I said, over time, I don't plan to keep the PT20. I'm not necessarily in a hurry to get rid of it because I still like it a lot. But my thought process is to get rid of it to get the twin sister, which is the Dirty Shirley 2 channel. I want to have the Dirty Shirley 2 channel and then put the Mini in the other room. So, and then bring the JJ in here. And I could have that. So, okay. So on that note, what are we doing? How am I doing? Hopping around. Oh, here's a good question from a bunch of letters and a bunch of numbers. JDJ 62 64 60 hut throw the ball. That's the sign on. Says, hey Phil, how thick is the maple cap on the Gibson Les Paul Classic Light? I don't know for sure. But if I was gonna give my best guess, it's the same exact thickness as a standard classic Les Paul. The Les Paul Classic Light, look, that Les Paul light is essentially just a classic Les Paul, and it looks like they just cut the maple cap. Don't listen to me. They cut the mahogany block in half. That's what it looks like. It looks like they took the thickness of the block and cut it in about half, maybe a little bit more, maybe 60% of the body thickness, but it really doesn't look like that way. It's about half. So essentially they took away the mahogany. I don't have an opinion about that either way. You know what I mean? I don't know what the best way to do that guitar is. But I just love the comfort of it. Somebody pointed out a really good thing about that video that I liked. Two things that I thought was interesting, because I like these live shows, especially when you guys get to see a video I did. And now we can talk about it. On the Les Paul Classic Light, which I'll index right here in case anybody hasn't seen that review. A couple things. A couple people, like 3 or 4 people mentioned now that the output jack on it is crooked just a little bit. It is just a little bit. Now, however, AMS sent this guitar to me for the review and for doing reviews for them, because I'm going to do some other products as well. You guys will see that soon. We'll do some giveaways. I got the impression it's a B-stock instrument. Now, so I've talked about this on the channel. I'm not saying it is. What I'm telling you is that this is something we talked about. I have a Hughes and Kittner Grandmaster Deluxe that Hughes and Kittner sent me. It was a Sweetwater return. I think I've talked about that now 3 or 4 times. It has a blemish on the plastic screen on the front of it. And so it's not uncommon for companies to send channels, YouTubers, blemished product, B-stock product, because again, they're not going to see a lot of this product back. You know, in this case, I'm keeping that guitar. That was something that we talked about. When American Music Supply approached me and said, "Hey, would you like to do some review videos?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would be actually great, because it'd be great to get some access to some stuff." When they asked me what I was interested in is a like compensation package for doing videos, I had said like kind of what I said in that video. You have a guitar that I'm very interested in. I would love to figure out a way so we can make that happen, whether that be a discount deal or, you know, let me have it. But either way, I'm going to review the guitar, so you'll get another video out of the deal. You know what I mean? You'll get another video. So I was very excited about that, because I was very excited about the guitar, and I was going to buy it anyways. Now, what's funny is the angled, the slightly off output jack, the plate is slightly tilted. The other issue was I could have sent it back and said, "Hey guys, can you send me another one?" The problem though is I love the way the guitar plays and sounds, and it freaks me out when I love a guitar to let go of that guitar. I think I've said this to you guys many times. I have some guitars, you know, sometimes the top is not the prettiest, but it's like, man, there's something about this guitar. So that's it. The other thing that came up about the video that I really liked was somebody was talking about the LTD Eclipses and how they're thinner like that. And that's absolutely why I love that guitar, because that's what I love about the ESP Eclipse and LTD Eclipses. So yes, absolutely, you can get one of those and get something like what you have there. But obviously what I was going after was a Gibson vibed instrument. I wanted a Gibson instrument. For the main reason, so you know, is that when I'm doing videos, I find that sometimes plugging in a Gibson Les Paul or a Strat into a product when you're doing a review really resonates with a group of musicians. I understand you guys, most people that are going to be watching the live show or listen to the podcast, you guys are more familiar with my channel, but you understand 80%, and that's that's an easy estimation. It could be 75, but let's say 80% of the viewers that watch the 61 million views of videos I've created on YouTube, they're not subscribers or repeat viewers. They just watch a video. So they've like I said, there's eight out of almost every 10 people that are watching one of my videos. They're not a repeat viewer. They're just a one-time viewer. So you want to appeal to them, because it's a balancing act. I got to appeal to the core of the audience that you guys right here, you're here for me. You're important, but also I got to also pay attention to the fact that if I don't create content for the people that are not the regular watchers, then you won't have any growth in the future. So that seemed like a long way to tell you that's what I did, but that's good. I don't know. Maybe it's insightful. Hopefully you guys like stuff like that. So what else do we got? We have Matt Wells says, "Hey, Phil, assuming the nut is cut correctly." Okay. I love that idea. I love it when you guys say that way. "What would help tuning stability more on a Les Paul Jr., upgrading the wraparound tail piece or adding locking tuners?" Well, tuning stability, I don't know what the wraparound tail piece upgrading that would do. Obviously, if you upgrade a bridge, you're really going after maybe intonation, and sometimes sustain is a factor of that. To me, locking keys would give you better tuning stability. Of course, keep in mind you don't need locking tuners for tuning stability. They just happen to generally help you in that situation, because you don't have to worry about string slippage, miswrapped strings around the post if you're doing that wrong. And also it's just faster, and you can, so if it was me, I'd put the locking keys on. That would help for the better tuning stability. So, and it's a good stretch your strings out a little bit. Matt Budd said, "Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul Jr. or Nags." I don't know how to say it. I don't know the name. I'm going to say Kenaij. Is that an artist? Both cost around the same part. I'm sorry if I don't know the artist and the name. If it's not an artist, then the Nags, I know all the guitars are named after like rivers, like some kind of rivers thing. I know Larry Mitchell did a video with me, and he's on my channel and explained the names of Nags. But anyways, which is better purchase in the long run? Oh, the Gibson, without a doubt. Without a doubt. What do I think is a better quality instrument? The Nags. Does that matter? Apparently not, if we're going to talk about the long run. Here's why, buddy. Matt, I have a Nags, and I bought it used, and I'll be lucky if I sell it for what I paid for it, and I got a good deal on it. They're hard to move. There's nobody looking for a Nags. I bought a Nags Sovereign to do a video and hope maybe that I would fall in love with it and keep it. I did not fall in love with it, so I'm not going to keep it in the long run. But the reason I still have it is because it's a how much do I want to lose when I sell it kind of deal. You know what I mean? I'm not prepared to emotionally lose the money yet. I know it's coming, right? I know it's coming, but and I got it, like I said, a good price. But the Nags, the horrible resale value on the Nags. It's because no one's really looking for Nags. It's a very niche guitar, small brand, only some players. But quality wise, if you were going to ask me what was a better quality guitar, a Gibson Custom Shop or Nags, I would say the Nags, based on my personal opinions and the quality guitars I have. I've owned a Gibson Custom Shop before, and I've had a Nags, and worked on both many times, and overall Nags is better. But man, without a doubt, a better situation purchase and resale value, Gibson is always a better deal. You know what I mean? It's just better. So in my opinion, should we always end with that in my opinion, so that there's not an internet quake later? Phil McKnight stated unequivocally that Nags has poor resale value than Gibson, and it'll be on Reddit and the gear page. But then he said, in his opinion, so now we don't have to chastise him. See, I'm making myself laugh. Hopefully you guys are laughing too. I have no idea what this means. The Dank Savage says, would I ever play a Karate Kid movie theme guitar? I don't know what that means. When I think of a Karate Kid movie theme guitar, I think of Crossroads and the Telecaster because of Ralph Macchio. So I don't know. No. So it's crazy. All right. I like that question because it was crazy. All right. Let's go. Let's get some more of these questions. Here we go. Steve, 4 times Steve. He really wants you to know his name is Steve. Says, hey, Phil, what's your opinion on the Peavey Valve King versus the Butcher? Oh, that's a great question, because those are two strange amps. It's funny is I did not like the Butcher. There's two now, right? There's a newer one and the older one. I don't know much about the new one. So let me tell you what I knew about the new Butcher. I remember I once took a Butcher on trade at the store. This is probably about 10 years ago. It was an old Butcher amp, and I was like thinking, man, this amp is not my cup of tea. I did not love it. The Valve King I thought was very cool. Obviously, it's a high gain amp, but it's a very cool amp, and I liked it. Then Peavey reissued the Butcher. I don't know when that was. I'm sorry, guys, we're doing off memory here, but here's what I remember. I remember telling Peavey, because I was a dealer at the time, going, man, I can't believe we're reissuing the Butcher. And they said, well, it's really not the Butcher. What happened was we were going to make a 50-watt Joe Satriani amp, and then he left to Marshall, so we repackaged it as Butcher. Now, I don't know if that story is true. Sometimes the sales guys just say whatever they think is going to make the dealer go, really? Oh, we've got to buy them now. You know what I mean? But maybe I fell for his jargon. It wasn't like an official statement from Peavey, but he was saying, but the story, of course, made sense, because not only did Joe go to Marshall, but it happened very quickly. So I could see where they would be stuck with some kind of Joe Satriani prototype that would have to be converted to the new Butcher amp. So again, not saying again that's a fact. That just is something I'd heard once. But what's my opinion? I liked both. The new Butcher I liked more, obviously, and the Valve King. Out of the two, for some reason, I like the Valve King stuff. I even like the Valve King 20 head. I remember I did a review of that. It might still be up on the channel. I don't remember. It was early on. When I did, I think I've said this before, but so when I started my channel very early on, I did some reviews of some Peavey stuff, and the Peavey guys reached out to me immediately, and because the amps had a horrible sound in them, hum sound in them, it was really bad, and people were like, "What is that horrible sound?" And Peavey reached out, and they're like, "Hey, what can you take those videos down, and we'll send you new product." And I didn't know how to take a video offline yet. Remember, I was very, very new to YouTube. We're talking within the first 10 videos. So I didn't know you could just go private on a video. I deleted the video, and they never sent me any product or anything. And then basically told me that the hum was normal. So I don't remember what, I know it was like the 5150 amp, but I don't remember if the Valve King had the issue too. Neil A says, hey, Phil, I bought a Ormsby TX guitar. Already have the Ormsby Hype guitar, both 6 strings multi-scale. These are great guitars and comfortable. Your thoughts on multi-scale guitars, and have you owned one? I've never owned a multi-scale guitar. I've worked on many. In fact, it's just talking about this with my buddy Lawrence a couple weeks ago about the first time I did a crown and level on a stainless steel multi-scale 8-string. It was a scary proposition. This was about 7 years ago, and I remember like when that stuff started taking off, and my buddy had bought a Strandberg with issues, and we had to fix it. So that's my way of saying I've played the multi-scale stuff. So here's the thing on multi-scales. I really like the idea of a multi-scale for a 6-string guitar. The reason I say that is because I love the idea that maybe the low E string is like a Strat, 25.5-inch scale, and the high E string is like a Les Paul, 24.75. I love that idea. To me, it's like, that's like those balanced tension strings, man. That's a great idea, you know, right? Give me a guitar with a little slightly longer scale on the low side than the high side. Here's where it gets tricky. I like 7 strings. I own some 7 strings. In fact, yeah, behind me is my main 7-string that I love, which is a 1999 RG67620, which is a 7-string 25.5-inch scale guitar. I think it's because old school, I like 7-string 25.5-inch scale. I know some of the new players like this 26.5 and 27 and stuff. It's just not, it's too baritone for me. It's too long scale. It's not my thing. I'm not chunking. I'm not genting on them. So the reason I say that is a lot of the multi-scale 7 and 8-string guitars don't appeal to me because I really don't like although I agree with the concept, you know, have that low B string or that low, whatever the 8-string is, that a C. So anyways, whatever the low string is, have it, you know, have the longer tension, makes sense. It's not what I'm after. I like the idea of a multi-scale being a little tamer kind of beast. Again, 24.75 to a 25.5. I think that's just, and that's why sometimes when you see the 6 strings and the multi-scales are just a little bit fanned, I think that's perfect concept. So, which is, I think, truer to what it was originally intended to be. You know, obviously the first multi-scale guitars I remember were basses by Dingwall. That's, again, I don't know if that's who invented it. I've said this many times, and probably somebody else totally invented it, but that's the first time I remember seeing that. And we're talking, you know, 20 years ago, right? I mean, easy 20 years ago. Oh my goodness, it can be longer. I'm saying almost goodness, like I'm 90 years old. Wow. But it was a long time, obviously. So, it was Dingwall that I remember thinking, what's wrong with those frets? So that's my, yes. And I do want one. I want a 6-string multi-scale instrument. If I get one, which I'm sure I will, one thing that's cool is you know, obviously doing reviews and stuff, it makes sense to get more instruments to have product to talk about. I think I'll end up getting one. If I get one, I'm definitely looking at, like I said, Tajima's offered a new affordable line of them. I'm interested in those. I'm interested in maybe doing a Kiesel one. I don't think I'm going to go Strandberg as much as I think they're cool. It's just not what I think I'm going to do. Something like that. But yeah, there'll be one, at the very least, one on the channel so I can talk about it. So Chicken Guitars. Hey, what's up? Chick N Guitars. It's N like the letter N, but it's like N, like and Chick N Guitars. She says, not a gear question, but a book question. Okay. This is never going to go well. What are your most recommended reads for learning about the history of mechanics of guitars, amps, and gear? That's a great question. It's one of those things like I should have a canned answer for that, because that's it's funny is when I started doing QAs and I started doing the channel, I thought that's what I was going to get. Lots of those kind of questions. So I used to have canned answers ready to go. And then over time, we started talking about everything but that. I have, it's funny. I have a ton of books. There's a great book by Stu Mack that was good, that I didn't love, but it was good. It's, again, a lot of the tech books are tech books. So the question is, what's a great book for learning the history of the mechanics of the guitars and amps and gear? I really like, what's funny? My favorite book, which is weird, is the History of Ibanez book. And it's not about that. It's about the history of Ibanez. But I like the book because it really walked through all of their problems they had. There's a lot of other books. Like I've read the History of Framus book. It's okay, but it's too history and not on the guitars a little bit, but it's still a good book. A lot of the amp books are, a lot of the books I read are amp books, like The Father of Loud's a good book. And the Hughes and Kittner history book, which was a slow read, but still a good book. Again, when I say slow read, I'm not dogging the writers or anything. I mean, granted, it's a subject matter that's a little tough to get through. To be honest with you, I'm trying to think when I did, I'll tell you Chicken Guitars, this is what I can remember the most. When I decided I wanted to work on guitars, I went out and bought books. Okay. And what I can tell you is I never really learned anything from those books. I got pieces of information and there were certain reference materials that I found. It wasn't until when I started, there wasn't a YouTube. So I had to just find a mentor. That's what it is. I found a mentor. That's, I shadowed people. Hey, can I watch you do this? Hey, I have a question about this. And then I remember the next thing I did, I want to say smart thing I did, but it was definitely a smart thing I did, was after I got somebody show me how to do stuff and I started working on it and doing trials, testing my ideas and how I'm going to work on things. Then I started to figure out how to get a resource, and a resource was someone I could call. You know what I mean? And that was huge for me. Having a resource. In fact, my biggest, this is going to be a cool recommendation. My biggest thing that I did that moved me to the next level of repairing instruments and building and doing stuff was when I found someone that I trusted to fix my mistakes. It was like my oh crap call. You know what I mean? So what happened was I almost never, ever had to call them. In fact, I can't remember maybe more than once ever calling them for help. It was knowing I could call somebody. It was knowing that if I got into a point where on this instrument, I don't know what to do, this is who I was going to call. And at the worst case scenario, I was going to have to take it to them and they were going to have to fix my mistakes. And that really made me take more chances. And those chances actually ended up really working for me because I was, I got better on. So more so than a book, I would definitely say try to find a mentor is better than a book. So especially in today's day and age, you'll move much faster. Try to find that person that's willing to give you 10 minutes to 20 minutes of their week. You know what I mean? That's all it takes. Just you need to bounce an idea off somebody. I've seen what you're doing on your channel and stuff, and I think you're doing great. Some of the stuff you did, think about this. Some of the stuff you did, like when you did your telly build, a lot of people don't realize this, where you started your repair journey. And I'll put some links to the videos I'm talking about, guys. Where she started her repair journey, it starts off, she doesn't realize it starts off like 10 serious paces ahead of how everybody else had to start just 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's great to see what they can, what people can pull off now. She did a fantastic job. I was impressed. Like I said, I was impressed with everything that she did. Some of the artwork on the guitar, everything just looked fantastic. Everything looked far, far beyond what I think a beginner, somebody working on instruments should have put out. Is far cry better. So it was really good. So that's what I would do. I would just look for resources to ask people. I don't know if a book will help so much other than resource material. But the sad thing about resource material now is, to me, getting a book about resource material is like asking for the encyclopedia for resource. You're going to find it on Google way faster. And then also try to figure out exactly what it is that you suffer from, and then figure out what you can master. And what I mean by that is, it's okay to be horrible at one thing. Especially in repairing instruments, right? Since we're talking about repair. So some people just I'm horrible at paint. I have no tolerance for it. Luckily for me, I have a friend who's a carpenter, and he built some stuff for me, and I needed the drywall done. And I said, "Can you do the drywall?" And he goes, "No, I don't do drywall." And I'm like, "Oh, it's easy though. It's way easier than what you're doing." And he's like, "I have no tolerance for it. I won't do drywall. Sanding, dust, I hate it." And and then I had somebody do the drywall, and maybe it's not the greatest attitude, but what I learned from that was he was successful because he was a very successful carpenter. And he ditched one thing he didn't like. He figured out how to get around it. So I did the same thing with instruments. I won't paint instruments because I have no tolerance for it. I have no tolerance for cleaning all the paint off me. Just that part drives me crazy. Just the idea that in fact, I redid the office. My wife painted all the walls for me. It was she is like the nicest thing she could do for me. I did it. The other stuff, I did everything else she painted, because she knows it's just I don't have it. It's just I don't have a tolerance for painting. So but that's what I decided. I wasn't good at that, so I was going to detract from that. So if people need refinish work, I have somebody in my pocket who does my refinish work, and so I can do the work and then I hand it over to them. And what I found is in most cases I don't do to refinish anything. The other thing that I know did was I learned to excel at something, and what I excelled at was electronics. Wiring up instruments and coming up with different ways to wire up the instruments. So without a doubt, that became my thing. People have me wiring up all kinds of weird pickup assemblies and pickup ways and doing stuff. And what I learned was having that having all and I always wrote a schematic out for whatever I did, and that's what I learned really helped me. Was a year later you forgot how you did something and you'd have to start from scratch, but because I had it all written out, I'd be like, this is how I did last time. So I don't know, I'm going on that tangent, but maybe hopefully that was helpful to somebody, everybody, nobody. All right. I'm going to go to the non-super chat. Remember, guys, I'm just telling you that. So if you super chat, don't worry. I pin your question. I promise I get to it. There is, what else do we got? Hold on. I don't know what this is. So I want to read. Dirty Frank says, what do you think of the new Behringer online auction site? I don't know anything about it. But I wanted to say, read it so that way I can index it. Maybe it's something you guys can check out. I'll check out too this week. Maybe it's something we're talking about next week. Oh, Big Idea 100 wants to know if there's any good books for wiring. No, I don't know. Again, I haven't bought a book in forever. What I can tell you though is this: the smart thing to do, which is what I did, is when you go online, there's a ton of great websites that have all kinds of schematics. Besides, Seymour Duncan has great ones too. But what I was going to tell you was always print them, because they disappear all the time. It's weird. I don't know what there's a legality to it, or just the people get sick of hosting the website. But I found that I have tons of schematics that they don't exist, or I can't find them now very easily like used to. And I just printed them, and I have a what do you call it? A little binder, and I just put them in a binder. Best book ever. Just get all the schematics, put them in a binder. So, in fact, I thought about it. It stinks. I have so many now, and I have such a great resource. Everybody talks about like, hey, sharing it. And, if I printed them, you know what I mean? I'd have to at least charge the cost of printing them and do all this stuff, which isn't very much. But then I don't know what the legality of that is, because I don't know if they're copyrighted or anything. I always tell myself I'm going to look into that, because I have all these schematics, and somebody wrote them up, and some are mine that I wrote up, and some are mine, or adapted somebody else's stuff. But the large majority are somebody else did the work. And again, it's just nice to have a directory of them all. So let's right, Radera, man, I'm gonna say Radera 81. How do you set your Boss Katana for high gain metal tone? I don't. I set it on the brown sound, and the higher gain setting doesn't do it for me. So I do it on the brown sound, and I just hit hard as I can. And I know it sounds silly, right? But I learned this with high gain. High gain, to me, you either got to do it right or don't do it at all. There's a difference between when a high gain amp like a 5150 sounds really just full and fantastic, and when it's a can of bees. And the Katana, I have not messed with it enough. I have the Katana Mark II. I haven't messed with enough on the metal to find a metal tone that is, to my liking. I'm sure I can go and edit it and stuff, but just turning the dials, I like the brown sound a lot. So, okay. I got some super chats. Again, I'm going to toggle back and forth. We're doing great on time. What else do we got? We have Ross Johnson says, what do you think about the new PRS S2 594s and the 594 thin line guitars? How do you think they'll compare to the 594 core and Gibsons? Well, Ross, I don't know exactly, but I can tell you that I will, because I have not looked at it right now, the tracking number, but there is a 594 S2 on its way to me right now, because I know, because PRS sent it to me, the tracking number, and said, here, it's on its way. I don't know which one it is. I got the impression it's not the thin line. It's their single cut or double cut. Very confusing. The email I got was like, hey, it's on its way. The single cut's been the top seller. So I don't know if that meant that they're sending me the top seller, or they couldn't send me the single cut because it is the top seller. But I have a 594 core. So I promised to do 2 videos. I'll probably do an unboxing review of the 594 S2 just to get that out of the way. Say, here's what it is, here's what I think, and give you some impressions on that. Do some sound samples. And then immediately I will probably film the same day the second video, which is where I compare it to my core guitar, because my core 594 single cut, I don't know what they go for. I think they're $3,600. So obviously more than double. So I'd be curious to see how the two react. So I will be doing those 2 videos post haste. In other words, very quickly, because of the fact that videos like that will do well views, because this, it's a new hot product. People are talking about it. It just came out. So obviously it bodes well for me to get them done very quickly. My guess is it'll probably be here Monday or tomorrow, right? I think they said they shipped it on Tuesday. Again, I just got an email. Told you I was redoing my studio, crazy week. And of course, getting ready for the contest for the build, and then the new pickup build, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But so that's coming, is what I want to say. Nick just did a super chat for no reason. I appreciate that, Nick. Thank you, man. Silver Paradox. I like that. Paradox. Silver Paradox says, built-in chorus delay reverb. Yeah, I think that's a question. If not, it's a great statement. Built-in chorus delay and reverb. Yes. You mean, am I for it, against it? I am for it. I used to have an anti-digital delay chorus reverb thing. Like when they shoved that in amps, I'm like, they ruined the amp. Now I'm like, they should just stick it in every amp. Even boutique hand-wired amps, just stick it in there. Maybe not that, but you get the idea. I like it. Having it on as I like it, especially if I can bypass it. Just bypass it. Don't need it. I feel like at this point in 2020, to me, if I could have a deluxe, I'm looking at my 65 deluxe reverb right now. If I took that amp and you said you could put in digital reverb and delay, maybe keep the original analog reverb, but put in delay and chorus, and I could bypass it or keep, or use it. It'd be cool just to have it on the fly. It'd be fun. Brett Weaver says, any insight into when the orange metal flake Dan Electro 59 will be for sale? Today they just did a picture on their Instagram. I need one. I don't know, Brett. I know the fine folks at Dan Electro sent me an email and thanking me for having them. I highlighted their products in my NAMM summary videos, and then I said, thank you, great show. And they asked me if I was interested in checking anything out. And of course, the 59s are still my favorite. Nope, it's in the other room. I thought I had my black one out. But yes, I absolutely love the orange one as well. I feel horrible because I love the blue one last year so much, but I like the orange one like you better. But I love the new wood ones. I'm excited about the wood ones. So I don't know anything about when they're going to come out or anything. They haven't responded to, I just said what products I'm interested in, and they haven't responded if they were going to be able to send any out this year. But I'm sure I'll hear from them soon. I'll give an update if they tell me anything. What else do we got? Nick says, I'll do one more and then we'll hop back over. Nick says, any thoughts on the new EVH Wolfgangs with the roasted maple necks? I see they're made in Indonesia. Do you know what factory? Are they any good? I didn't get to try any. Of course, I'm excited about I particularly think the roasted maple neck thing is the greatest thing to happen to cheap guitars. Now, again, these aren't cheap guitars. I understand they're not inexpensive guitars, but you understand what I mean by cheap guitars. Let's say sub $2,000 guitars. Okay. So somebody could freak out right now going, is he trying to say anything that's under $2,000 is a cheap guitar? What I'm saying is that expensive guitars to manufacture, like in the US, versus inexpensive guitars to manufacture. What I'm trying to say is I think roasted maple necks are cool, especially on guitars they're making faster. I want to say fast guitars instead of cheap guitars. I think that's what we'll do. So what I mean by that is anytime they produce a lot of anything, I think doing roasted maple necks is a great idea to get that wood probably more stabilized than it would be if they were just cutting wood and trying to kiln it and just get it out there fast. So, so I'm excited that they're doing that. I have not got to try any of them. So, sadly enough. So if I get a chance, I will. Unfortunately, I don't think EVH sends out product. And I used to do a lot of EVH videos when I went through a tear where I just bought a ton of EVH stuff and did videos like that. But unfortunately, as much as I like EVH stuff, I've kind of bought and kept what I have. Like I have my striped guitar right there, and you know what I mean? So Matthew King says, what are your thoughts on the Squier Fender Bass 6? Is it a bass, a baritone, a gimmick? Well, the Bass 6 has been around forever. So if it's a Bass 6, I'm so horrible at Roman numerals. Is that 6? I'm just afraid I'm going to start talking. You guys are going to be like, Phil, that's not the Roman numeral for 6. I just want to know what the Roman numeral for 6 is. Hold on. Sure. Yes, it's the Roman. Okay, cool. I just want to, I don't know why, but I've never was really good at Roman numerals, probably because they taught them to me and then I immediately never had a watch with Roman numerals on. Okay, so back to the question at hand, which I need to get back to, which was Matthew King says the Squier Fender Bass 6, is it a bass, is it a baritone? It's really neither and both. And here's what it is. The Bass 6 is unlike a baritone's tuned B to B, I think a Bass 6 is tuned E to E. So it's like a bass guitar, and it's like a guitar, right? I used to have one. I remember thinking it was so cool when I played it. I just didn't know how to apply it into any music that I was using at the time. And it went that way forever. Yeah. And then Great Vanzini saying that it was around the 60s. Of course, it was a huge guitar, huge sound. They would do tic-tac bass lines with it and I think, didn't Carol Kay have one for a while? You know what I mean? So it's nothing new. It's something old brought back. And if you have a use for it, they're really cool. My problem is I thought the idea of it was cool and you strum a few chords and it sounds fantastic. But I just never found a use for it to apply it to anything I was making, any songs I was playing or anything I was doing, but very cool. So, especially in a Fender Squier, I think the one I had, I'm pretty sure the one I had was a Squier as well, because it was a limited, same thing. They did a run of them. And this is probably about 10 years ago. Francisco says, intermediate guitar player having fun learning and creating. I'm looking for a bass sound, octave pedal, short scale like Ibanez, TMB 30 or full scale like a Squier. Also sound difference, full or short scale. So he's looking for a bass sound with an octave pedal, and he's asking if he should get the short scale bass. The short scale bass, to me, we've talked about this before. There's certain things I like about it. First of all, I think the G string on a short scale bass sounds more musical to me, less snappy and more full. So if you're going to do a lot more melodic music, shorter scale basses to me have that kind of magical sound. Recorded, I think you can get away with murder. So, I think if you use a short scale bass, it's hard for in a recording with the way recording now is done, that you can't convince the average person that you had a full-size bass on there. So the reason I tell you that way is if you want a short scale bass because it's easier to play or it just feels more conducive to your style, then do that. And don't be afraid that you got the short scale, not the long scale. However, if you pick up a long scale bass and you're fine, play that. Like I said, you look behind me on my basses right here. There's my medium scale Stu Ham right there. And then my other two are standard scale basses. I still play both, and there's things I like about both, but I don't necessarily think you have to have a short scale bass. I just think they're fun, and you can usually pick them up on the cheap. So really cool. And then let me do one more super chat and then hop back over. Yankees Clippers. Okay. It's Yankees Clippers. Thought I was going to say fan. Yankees Clippers fan. But Yankees Clippers. Phil, first time called, long time listener. It's funny. That definitely takes you back. Thoughts on the Vox Night Train combo. I'm going to say it's Vox. He put box, but that's the world we live in now. We're typing and it's messing it up. Vox Night Train combo. I don't have any thoughts on that. I had the Night Train head. I liked it at the time. it's not that it was not a great amp. It was great. It's just they made better products. Everybody started coming out with better products. So the Nitrane Combo is a great amp as well. It's not on my sites as anything to get, but it's a good amp. That's my thought on it. So good amp. If you could pick it up for a good price, always it's good, but it's a good amp. I wish I had something more exciting to say. It's a good amp. Trying to think if there's something I would recommend over it. That's the thing. It's still got the Voxy chimey kind of cool sound to it. So that's one of the things I like too. Deshaun says, hello, good show. I have an Epi Lucille and I'm putting new pickups in it. Stock has braided wiring, no name pots, switchcraft jack. Should I upgrade to CTS pots? Well, here's the thing, man. If you're going to do a hollow body guitar, here I usually recommend one of two actions whenever wiring up a hollow body guitar. Sometimes there's a good saying, right? In for a penny, in for a pound. If you're going to replace the pickups, just gut everything, right? Because it's a nightmare to do. You might as well just get it all over with. Replace everything with new stuff. Make sure everything's perfect, and then you never have to get back in there again. And you're like, done. That's the first one. The second thing is that's one option. I definitely recommend that one. The other option is if you can get it out with the least minimal work, which is sometimes just wiring in the pickups very quickly and not creating a mess. Sometimes it's a good idea. But I can tell you what I do. If you give me a hollow body, most of the time I'm going to rewire everything. If it's especially an Epiphone instrument, it's going to have, not bad pots or output jack and stuff. I'm not saying anything like that, but obviously it's not going to have the best stuff in there. And at this point, just might as well cut everything and put the best in there because it's a nightmare. If you're doing the work, it's just time. You know what I mean? A tech will charge you a fortune. It usually expect to pay double the wiring job rate if you're doing a hollow body instrument. But what's great is there's a ton of ways to do it very quickly now. You know what I mean? I have a little jig that I have, so it slides in there with like this. I use a zip tie and I wire everything and I tie it off to a zip tie that I form to the shape and then I slide it in and put it in. I've learned to just kind of do it that way. That might be a cool video. I know I've really never did any videos of any electronics on hollow bodies, but it's mostly because camera work was almost impossible. But now with the GoPros I have, maybe that's an easier thing to get in there and see. So with my one-shot cameras I used to do, I mean, you just wouldn't see anything. But now I can put a couple angle GoPros in the new studio. So there you go. And then let me hop over. Hold on. There's almost 800 of us hanging out. And we're at the 1 hour mark, so we're going to try to wrap it up. I try to go about 10 minutes over. Last couple episodes, I went a little longer. And I noticed a lot of people, that's just a little too long. So let's do some non-super chats real fast. Hold on. High Seas Marine says, show me this jig. See, yeah, maybe I should do that. Because I you know what it is? I just started doing it. I obviously, like all good ideas, I stole it from somebody. I saw it somewhere. It was literally a picture. It wasn't even a video. This is way back when I went online and saw a picture and I saw somebody was using the thick. I used the white, those really thick, like 14-inch long zip ties. And what I learned was you can kind of bend them into a shape. And then, like I said, run your electronics and then tie everything to that. And it was just a great way to do it. And it slides in perfectly. It works great. I just don't know if I'll ever be able to do a video of wiring a hollow body and not curse. We'll have to bleep that video. I always curse at least once when you're doing one of those things. Because you always get about 90% of it done. You're like, and then it all has to come out and you fix it. Slide it. It's never hard to rewire hollow body. No one should be afraid of it. It's just, you understand it's going to take the time it's going to take. That's the thing, right? And what happens is it teases you. It taunts you like a angry middle school kid, right? It sometimes makes you feel like something's going to happen fast. Like you're maybe 30 minutes into it and you're like, I'm done. Am I done? I'm done. This doesn't work. Great. So all right. Okay, let's see. What else do we got? Cursing is a fun. Yeah, I get it. I just bleep it. Okay, hold on. Let me grab another one over here. Grumpy Mike. Hey, Grumpy Mike, how's it going? Grumpy Mike said no particular reason other than thanks for all the valuable knowledge that you share. Thank you, Grumpy Mike. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you. Not only is Grumpy Mike always nice here on the live show, he's a patron, and he's very nice in the patron hangouts, and he's very, very cool dude. The most non-grumpy guy, the name tag Grumpy Mike. So Teddy says, Phil, tried Eastman guitars? I have, and I'll have a thought on that in a minute. I'm thinking of buying an Eastman SB59V Les Paul, but I'm scared since it's made in China, have to order without trying. You know, Teddy, I really want an Eastman guitar. And I'm having the same problem you're having. I am sitting here. Here's what it is. Let me tell you, I don't want a Les Paul because I just got a Les Paul, but I'll tell you what I want. I want an ES335. I want an ES335, and at this point, I either want a Heritage or an Eastman. And I don't know why. You know what I mean? That's the thing we do, right? We have you get the inkling in your head. This is what I want. I want this guitar. And like you, I'm trying to decide if I want to pay premium dollars for the made in China guitar, or do I want to go? And I'll be very honest about this. It's the Heritage guitar is like my Gretsch. I love Gretsch. I think the Gretsch is, in my opinion, the Gretsch is better quality instrument than Fender. In my opinion, Heritage seems like a better quality instrument than Gibson. Although that doesn't matter because the resale value, of course, on the Gibson and Fender is absolutely amazing, and the G&L and Heritage are absolutely horrible. That being said, I'm like you. I just want an Eastman, and I'm afraid of that kind of money made in China. Seems like a scary proposition. And it really got hyper kicked when I got the Shiji, and I was trying that guitar out, and I was like, man, to see them make that kind of caliber instrument in China. So again, it's just a thought. I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts, pro, against. You know, I mean, obviously, if you're going to give me the rhetoric of the Chinese empire, the stuff you guys, sometimes people put weird stuff on videos like, oh, you're helping the Chinese evil empire. I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, I got a phone, I got this computer. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I understand what you're saying, but I also understand, like, I just want a quality product from a company that I think cares to make quality products. And I think Eastman is that company. So I don't really worry about the other thing. To me, what I want the best products to always be made. The consumer always wins, right? So if the Chinese make great stuff, we should buy it in the idea that hopefully what's supposed to happen, God, this is going to get weird. What's supposed to happen is if a company in America sees the Chinese guys winning, a manufacturer that is, they're supposed to make better products so we come back and buy products from us, from them. I think. That's how I feel. I feel like that's happening now, by the way. I feel like some of the U.S. products are the best products I've seen in years because of the competitive nature. I saw this once before, by the way. This was when Japan was killing us with the guitars, right? When the Japanese guitars came out and they were amazing, all of a sudden we went from the worst decades in Gibson and Fender history, which is the 70s, right, for quality, and then the quality started coming up. So it's again, we're talking about, I'm not saying absolutes, I'm not saying that's a fact, I'm just giving you my perception of what I felt was happening. So, but I'm really curious to see, Teddy, what your thoughts are, because I'm the same thing as you. I'm thinking I want an Eastman, and at the very least, I'd like to review an Eastman and give you guys some feedback on that. So how about that? Wolf Eater. Yes, Wolf Eater. Neck pocket gap on a bolt-on guitar, is that a problem? Well, the neck pocket gap, again, so some vintage guitars that people just absolutely love have huge neck gaps, and that's just a fact of it. Especially some eras of Fender guitars are worse than others. So is it a problem? It's not a problem if the string alignment's right, and it's not a problem if the guitar is playing fine. Aesthetically, if it's an aesthetic thing. I tend to not worry. Me personally, that stuff doesn't bug me. When a guitar plays and sounds right, I don't care. It's like, that's the magic. Everything after that is just not a problem for me. So if I got a Strat and it was playing and sounding fantastic, and it had a neck gap, I wouldn't care. John Mayer's number one Strat, that beat up black one that he had, it has a twisted neck. I watched an interview and he was talking about that. And he said, but it played so great, they had him swap the neck. He said they did like a dozen necks, and they ended up putting the same twisted neck on there because it just played great, but it was twisted. I've experienced the same thing. I've had a guitar where the neck was twisted, but in fact, I remember because a guy's like, this neck's twisted, it's no good. And I played the guitar and I remember thinking, this guitar plays amazing. I said, what do you want for it? And he sold it to me dirt cheap. He's like, well, the neck's twisted, it's no good. I'm like, okay, I get that. I see the neck's twisted, but it's playing great. And I'm not having issues, you know? So to answer your question, no, there's nothing wrong if it has a gap in it. If there's something wrong with the guitar, but it's not affecting the way it sounds or plays, then it's an aesthetic problem, and that's for you to decide if the aesthetics bug you. But to me, aesthetic problems don't bug me. Heck, you know, people pay for guitars to be beat up. Maybe the future is they'll have like, I want neck gaps. That's what cool people will just start having guitars made to look like they're not built right. M. Karras says, love Friedman amps in my Kemper. Thoughts on their guitars? Favorite, pricey, so you want recommendations. Thoughts on their guitars? Yes, my favorite ones and pricey. So what are my recommendations? They are pricey. They're expensive guitars. They're made by Grover Jackson. They're fantastic. I have the Vintage S right now. It's in the other room. I have not unveiled that guitar or why, but that's coming soon. So there's a little teaser on that. What I will tell you is this: I can say my biggest compliment to Friedman guitars is that stuttering. I'm getting so excited. No, I'm serious. My biggest compliment to a guitar company is when they make a great guitar, you want another one. That's not always the case. I have guitars where I get one and I go, this is a great guitar, and I'm happy to have it. But every once in a while you play guitar and you go, man, I need another one. Since I've had the Friedman Vintage S, I have been nonstop thinking about their tellies. I just can't stop. Not because I need a telly. I don't need it. In fact, I can tell you, I don't need a guitar. So I'm just, you know, and there's no reason to review a Friedman guitar. So the telly, because I'm going to review the S soon. So that's my thoughts, is that's how good the guitars are. I want another one, especially expensive guitar like that. You get a guitar like that and you're like, man, I don't need another one, but I want another one. So I really like them. Very good. They're better than my Fender Strats. It's just a fact. So I'm trying not to sneeze. I hope we're in the broadcast without me sneezing. I promise to mute if I do. E.R. Webster says, have you seen the Crimson Guitar 2020 build? Hollow body Explorer multiscale made entirely out of Paduke. I haven't. I thought I did. I saw some of the stuff. I like Crimson guitars. I like watching this stuff, man. He's crazy. He's you know, he's probably the most underrated thing on YouTube in the guitar communities. The amount of work that he's doing is so far beyond what everybody else is doing. He should be, you know what I mean? We should all just be enamored watching it. Yeah, I'll put a link to it. Obviously, very cool. Company, very cool builder, very cool thing. Everything they do is, to me, it's like everything they're doing is right. They got a great YouTube channel. They make great guitars. They have a great class. They sell really good Luthiery tools. They're firing all engines. It's a really good product, a really good company. I got nothing but amazing accolades to say to them because of the fact that it's one thing that they're good, but yes, like you said, their builds. Some of the stuff he does, you're just like watching it, going, this is like. It reminds me of those crazy car shows where they build these supercars, or no, you know what it was, like those. Remember those motorcycle shows? Remember, I'm not into cars or motorcycles, but they would make these crazy motorcycles. That's how good Crimson Guitars is. Crimson's guitar is so good that people who probably don't play guitar probably watch his channel because just to watch the artistic part of what he's doing. So check out his channel. It's very, very cool. All right. Hold on. And Justin May just did a super chat. Justin, thank you so much for have a coffee or a beer on me. I'll have a coffee beer. How about that? They make both. That sounds gross, but I actually have one. I have it. It's been sitting in the fridge for weeks. I think I'll have it tonight. And thank you, Justin. Also, thank you for being a patron, man, and everything, and your service. Thank you for your service. So, I was gonna. Okay. On that note, I think we did it. Hold on. Let me see. There might be one more. Oh, I don't want to forget Reggie. Hey, Reggie says, for the cause, the locking turners worked like a charm. I did shave the nut to stop it from pinching the string. So Reggie's working on a build right now on a guitar, and he was adding some locking tuners, and it's going good. I'm good. I can't wait to see. Post me some more pictures when you get closer to done. I'm always curious to see. That's my favorite thing you guys send me, by the way. I know a lot of times you guys send questions and stuff like that, and I really like that stuff. But sometimes when you send me pictures of your guitar stuff you're working on, I don't even sometimes get to respond. But I promise when I look at it, it's like I don't know. It's just fun to watch. So it's like anything else. On that note, I think I'm going to call it. We did a little over an hour this week. It was a good show. I did all my announcements. I'm looking right now to make sure. Look for the new videos with the new studio. I'm very excited. We did hit 250,000 subscribers this week. So 250,000 subscribers. Very exciting. So we will be doing the giveaway guitar that I'm working on right now, and I will be announcing more of that before. Thank you so much for the feedback last week. We talked about last week having a charity, having a charity run an auction, and then they get the money, and then we'll do the guitar. I think what I'm going to do is just do a winner giveaway. I'll give you guys a link, and then you guys will basically sign up for it, and you can try to win the guitar. And it'll be international. I'll cover shipping wherever it goes in the world. I mean, 250,000 subscribers. This is a big deal. To give you a reference of how big deal it is for the channel, the only next milestone really that I can hit is 500,000 subs. And based on all the projections I can get, that would be the soonest would be 2 years from now, and that would be not likely. So not likely at all. So and same thing, 60 million views is huge. The next milestone of Quinn, I think, would be 100 million. Same thing, years. You know what I mean? An average about 1.5 million views per month is what I've been averaging for the last couple years. And if you do that math, same thing, it takes a while. So this is a big milestone. I want to make a big deal out of it. You'll see a lot of giveaways, a lot of stuff, and I'll probably just so look for that, because I want to do a lot of fun stuff with that. And then on that note, I want to say thank you to everybody, and I'll see you guys next week. And as always, thank you so much. And also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the live show. That's always nice and much appreciated. And on last, I just want to say before I go, this is important, because I got a couple new patrons for the group. Hold on. And I don't have the full list of patrons, but I do want to give a shout out to some new ones. One of my favorites, he's not one on the premium page, but his sign-on was Apple Smasher, which I thought was just fantastic. I enjoyed that so much. Hold on. And so we have George and Addario. He's new. I wanted to thank him particularly for coming on the channel as one of the newest top tier patrons. I want to thank all the patrons, everyone who supports the channel in every way. Also keep in mind, you can always buy merchandise too down below if you want to support that way. I put a discount 50% off for that. And but keep in mind, don't forget, the best support you can do sometimes is just to watch and hit a thumbs up, maybe make a comment. All that stuff is as valuable as any money. So I appreciate that as well. And then last, somebody got me real quick. I don't want to leave you hanging. I got one last one from Tim. He says, any sound difference from a 112 to a 212 cabs? What mod can I do to my PMS MT15 to tame the lead channel's master volume? Yes, to me, a massive difference between a 112 and a 212. To me, the 212s always sound bigger and fuller. But so I also find the opposite. Sometimes the 112 sound a little better, quieter. You know what I mean? When I'm playing in the bedroom, and the 212 sounds better when I have a bigger room, or if I'm going to gig or play somewhere, especially with a smaller amp like the MT15. So you have to choose your poison. But I like both, and I use both 112s and 212s, but I use them differently. 112s for recording and for quiet play. 212s for playing in bigger rooms or playing out. To tame the MT15's lead channel, the only thing I could suggest you do is you could plug a volume pedal, an EQ pedal, anything that controls volume into the effects loop of that amp, and kind of use that as a master volume. And I have a video on that. I'll put a link in the index below when I index the videos to that video that shows you how to do that. Also, JHS makes a cool pedal that does that as well. I mean, there's a ton of great sources of pedals for that, so it'll do that same thing. Other than that, you'd have to do some, actually get in there and fix some of the, change the electronics. I love the MT15. Love it so much. My one massive complaint about that is for a 15-watt amp, it is extremely loud and it's hard to get quiet. And I thought the 7-watt mode does not work. You put it in 7-watt mode and it gets too thin sounding. And I just like it in the full 15 mode, so I feel your pain. But that's the other thing you can do is run it with something in the effects loop. I would do either an EQ pedal or a volume pedal, something, and just like I said, use that as a master volume to do that. So, all right, guys. As always, thank you so much for your time. I will see you guys next Friday, 3 o'clock. As always, until then, know your gear.